Oh, sir, I've been meaning to ask you.
I'm not going to give you a promotion.
What? What is your favorite weapon?
Oh, well, obviously, it's the Great Sword.
No, it's a switch axe.
No, it's a Great Sword.
No, it's a switch axe.
It's a Great Sword!
But will the Admiral's favorite weapon change in Iceborne, or mine, or even yours? Some people will always be stuck in their ways. But for the more open-minded of us, we've gotten a few videos of weapon changes, and there is so much potential in Iceborne to shake things up. So here is my list of the top 5 best weapons in Iceborne.
Number 5.
Wait, but the light bowgun has nothing to do with cowboys. Or at least it didn't until now. That's right, because light bowgun now has this super neat gun spin reload animation tied to one of the brand new bowgun mods, which allows you to reload one shot per mod into your gun whenever you do your badass slide dodge move. And this is supposedly one of multiple new mods. So if they are feeling crazy enough to let you essentially have a safe, low ammo reloading option, I have to wonder what other crazy things Capcom could pull out of the magician's hat in terms of mods. Hopefully not just a rabbit. Well, how about the Wyvern Blast Counter for starters? This mod is probably the coolest change to the function of the light bowgun that I could possibly imagine, as it takes your old cool mine function from World and transforms it and melds it into this mix of defensive and offensive power. You launch it out like a little grenade, and if nothing happens, it just sort of disarms and disappears pointlessly, a simple waste of the ability. However, if you either directly hit the monster with it, or if the monster runs into it during its active time, it will explode for absolutely massive damage and what looks like a massive chance to flinch too. Essentially, this mod transforms one of the main parts of the weapon to be a fucking parry. How sick is that? Regardless of it being a parry, just the fact that the new mods are able to take things as far as modifying and completely reconstructing your special ability from the ground up. I love it. You may be thinking, Cotton, the light bowgun has been one of your lowest ranked weapons for such a long time, and statistically speaking, it might just be the weakest weapon in the entire game right now. How has it managed to be number 5 on this list? Well, the nature of the design quality means that the margins between the 14 weapons in World, for me, are absolutely tiny. So all of the Iceborne changes have the power to bring something that was formerly 13 out of 14 for me, all the way up to this spot of number 5, a place coveted by, me, I guess?
Number 4.
What's your thing? Bugs.
Personally, for the longest time, Insect Glaive was a weapon that I simply wanted to fall in love with. It looks so elegant, the gameplay feels so calm and relaxing, and the Kinsect, oh, the Kinsect is so much of a dick to manage. Honestly, I'm sure there are people who love the Kinsect and its functions, but at least the way their buff retrieval currently functions, I find it to be similar to Charge Blade's Shield Charge, where it isn't really an enjoyable experience to do it, but if you don't do it, you're just significantly underpowered. One way to fix this issue is to make the retrieval process less of a massive pain, and another way to fix the issue is to make the Kinsect itself feel more like it actually intertwines with the weapon, so it feels less like it's just a token sidekick that you have to use for this one mechanic. Man, both those things would be great. Yeah, they would. It's good that they're happening then. Both of them? Yes, both of them. That's right, everyone's favorite pointy spinny staff is getting some real love here in Iceborne, as you can infuse slinger ammo into your Kinsect and powering it. And that may sound sick, but that isn't even the full depth of this mechanic. On that general level, empowering the Kinsect will allow it to collect 2 separate buffs before returning.
Wow.
And then on top of that, you get bonus buffs based on the type of slinger ammo that you've used.
Let me get a better look at you. Damn, you looking good!
For example, using something basic like a stone or a red pit will nab you a fantastically extended Kinsect stamina bar like the one shown here. Alternatively, using something like thorn ammo dropped off of a monster you've just injured will raise your Kinsect's attack speed, leading to just a general DPS increase as a whole. And as if that system as well was not enough, the brand new spike down aerial finisher looks just fantastic, both from an aesthetic standpoint and a design standpoint, as it gives the glaive wielder what will hopefully be an even stronger aerial offense, as currently, statistically speaking, ground glaving is arguably a fair bit better than aerial glaive, but I have high hopes that this new move will go a long way towards changing that. Insect Glaive as a whole is mostly here because of the ways that it's been changed, because before, when it was working perfectly, you have all your buffs and you're dancing in the air, it feels great, like an 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9, but when you weren't in that situation, it felt like a 4. With these changes, not only should you spend significantly less time in that non-ideal situation, but that situation should also feel less shitty to be in the first place. It's all looking up for Insect Glaive.
Number 3.
My first weapon in Monster Hunter was the dual blades. The super quick attack speed being the biggest draw, as I just love the visual and sound effects on hit being so ridiculously frequent. And then on top of that, you have the Beyblade, which is just one of the most satisfying things in the game. It's almost like shooting Dragon Piercer, but like if you were the arrow and if the arrow was also spinning. Who am I kidding? Dragon Piercer doesn't even compare. I'm sorry, baby. If you like the idea of all those quick attacks also feeling meaty, then the Iceborne changes to dual blades really do fit that. As first off, the Clutch Claw Tenderize attack with the dual blades looks just so good. Dancing with the blades on its face before going for a double overhead slam type attack to jump off, and I don't think I could ever get sick of that animation. Just like I could never get sick of the ability to power shot all of your equipped slinger ammo at a monster mid-demon mode dodge.
Stop. My penis can only get so erect.
Allowing you to flinch monsters and continue your relentless onslaught, which is what the dual blades are really starting to feel like with that, in conjunction with an ability that acts as a finisher to a combo that already existed. And it's a fucking mini Beyblade that actually looks almost as satisfying as getting a full-length Beyblade off on a monster. Now, the thing that interests me most about this is it uses the Clutch Claw to latch onto the monster, and the monster that we saw it used on was Odogaron, who is honestly quite vertically challenged, I'm sorry. So because it does latch on, what do you think would happen if you did it on something like a Devil Joe or an Anjanath or anything tall, really? If it does latch on and properly Beyblade up the side of a monster, then this move would be the game changer to make me play dual blades in Iceborne over anything else. Because come on, how cool would it be to launch into that badass saw blade of an attack without relying on your environment for slides or wall jumps, and then on top of that, imagine actually slowly climbing the height of a brute wyvern. It would just be so cool. However, without seeing it on a bigger monster, I would say the safer assumption here is that it does only go to a certain height, which would leave this weapon firmly in its current spot at number 3.
Number 2.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, mother.
Okay, I'm gonna start this one off by making one simple statement. The hunting horn is the best current weapon in the game. No, really, please buff me. The hunting horn is one of the most versatile weapons offensively, with plenty of options and combos to choose from, as well as varied ways to play each note in order to keep yourself in the right position. And all that before the 6 songs and sick buffs for yourself and all of your allies. It is just such a fun weapon to be around and play. The only downside being it can be a little frustrating to use if you are bad like me, which is mostly why I don't play it. Unlike a lot of weapons, the hunting horn is on here because of just how fantastically designed it is in base world, with the slight cool additions to it simply becoming Iceborne on the cake. The tenderizer isn't particularly unique, as most weapons have one from a clutch claw position. However, the way that the hunting horn achieves its tenderizing is by kicking the monster in the face. Like, mechanically speaking, this should function the same as most weapons, but in terms of visuals and just the way it makes me feel, this straight up pendulum kick couldn't be a whole lot better. But on top of that, the hunting horn gets a whole new kind of song that produces little bubble buffs for them and their friends. This ability comes at the end of a combo and creates a small pool under your feet. People who walk into it will walk out with a buff. And hey, how do you feel about new super unique attacks and a number of new potential songs? Good? Good? Good?
Great!
Because you also gain the new Echo Wave ability, which intertwines your combos to also provide buffs to the peoples while doing a super cool attack simultaneously. Hunting Horn was already a legitimate work of art of a weapon. Seriously, please play it so I can get buffed more often. But with the new changes in Iceborne, it has just gotten better. But unfortunately, just not better enough to beat
Number 1.
貴様の拳など顔どにも効かんわい。お前はもう死んでいる。何？
Alright, look, what were you expecting? Through all of the love I've found and lost for each of the weapons since the release of Monster Hunter World, Longsword is the one I have stuck with the longest, the strongest, the most. It is my soulmate, and I am its soulmate, or its spirit mate at least, as I provide it sustenance to fill its gauges. The main draw of the Longsword for me pre-Iceborne changes has always been the Helmbreaker, along with the absolute satisfaction of nailing a successful parry. And in Iceborne, we're literally getting more of exactly that. So why on earth would this weapon not be my number 1? As far as new additions to weapons go, the Longsword ones seem to fit the weapon identity the best by far, with the Tenderize animation being essentially a helm-splitting attack spiking downwards through the monster and dealing a ton of ticks of damage with speed that rivals even the dual blades. And while that itself is such a cool animation, it still doesn't hold a candle in comparison to the full-on new mechanic for the weapon. That expression makes no sense, by the way. Do things that are better often hold candle in front of things that are worse? This new mechanic is the main draw of the weapon for me in Iceborne, and that draw is quite quick. That's right, this quick draw attack, which can be activated after attacking much like the parry, can happen in two ways. The first of the EI slashes is simply a quick sheath and release attack that applies a sort of debuff to the monster that slowly fills the player's spirit gauge, which in theory means you have to do less comboing before you can build up to your big attacks, and it will always feel like you are actively doing something to progress the hunt. Even when a monster charges at a hunter across the room from you, you're still gaining spirit. And what makes this attack even more unique is that you cannot be staggered or interrupted once it has begun. But even that absolutely out of the box change for the Longsword is just the beginning of it, because the second EI slash consumes one of your spirit levels upon activation. You sheathe like the other slash, but instead of just going for it, you wait, and you counterattack. The counterattack in return gives you a spirit level back, while also dealing a good chunk of damage to the monster. So we got a new Helmbreaker-like finisher for the Clutch Claw, a way to slowly gain spirit gauge while looking cool, and theoretically just an empowered version of the parry that I already love. They say if you love someone, you shouldn't be afraid of them changing, you should welcome the change and love whatever they become. But Longsword, I already love what you're becoming. Alright everyone, these are my top 5 weapons for Iceborne based on the changes we know about so far. What do you expect to be your new main weapon, or are you sticking to Old Faithful? Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the little notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.